We are coming up to the end of the presentation, and we saved the most content for the last. Mr. Oldbear will be coming up to talk to us. I'm not sure if he's gonna give any encounters or not, but guys, feel free if you have any questions to ask him, and we're glad to have him. And if he is ready, he can come on up.
Okay, I know I have to ham it up, guys. It's just me. I've been doing this I've known about Bigfoot since I was 16 years old. When it comes to these creatures, I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of them. And I've seen them in 5 different states. And I've been over most of the U.S., seen sign of them in Oregon, Utah, California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. I know Kansas is a flat state, there ain't nothing there. They're there too. Seen sign of them in Nebraska. With my job, I'm across the U.S. I'm a truck driver, and I'm still mesmerized every day that I go out, or I'm out in the truck, stuff you can see from the interstate. I've seen X's at rest areas. I've seen tree bows at rest areas. I've seen X's in truck stops, the backside of a truck stop. And that's the easiest place to park. Nobody wants to walk 300 yards to go get a burger. But I do it because, hey, where else you going to find anything at? You're not going to find it up front, you're going to find it in the back, where the dumpsters and everything are at. But at age 16, I had no recollection of any type of cryptid in the world. None. The year before that, I had watched the Legend of Boggy Creek on a Saturday night with my dad. Now my dad is old school and always was. We watched what he wanted to watch at the house, because I had to go up and turn the channel and move the rabbit ears and adjust the TV. That's the televisions we had when I was a kid. And we watched this movie on a Saturday night, come on around, I don't know, maybe 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, something like that on a Saturday night. And we had just finished watching, I think, either Hee Haw or something like that on a Saturday night. And I talked my dad into watching it. And we watched that movie together. And my mom and my grandmother, all of us lived there at home. It was me, my little brother, my dad, and my mother, and my grandmother, my dad's mom. And they just come in and saw what was on TV, and they just didn't care for it. And I think my mother and my grandmother walked on the front porch and sat out there for about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. And at the end of the movie, I looked at my daddy, because my dad was my hero when I was a kid. And he was still my hero until he passed last year. We watched the movie together, and I looked at my dad. I probably wasn't, back in my time when I was a kid, you were pretty naive about everything as a child. And I looked at my dad after that movie went off, and I said, "Dad, have you ever seen one of those things?" And he said, "No, there's nothing like that in the state of West Virginia. It might be down in some other state where this movie is centered at, but there ain't none here." I took my dad's word for it. Then a year later, almost to the day, one walks out at 20 feet, close to 8 foot tall, dark, reddish, brown hair. It looked at me. It was chasing deer. There was 3 does that come out before that. And about 5 minutes later, this thing shows up and walks up behind this boulder. Now behind this boulder, I can stick my fingers. You can see very tips of my fingers if you're standing on the upper side of that boulder, looking across the flat top of it. You can see the tips of my fingers. Well, that's 7 feet. This thing I could see that much of its head. So it's well over 7 feet. And the lower side is lower than the boulder. And these boulders were pushed there by a dozer when they timbered that area. And it was an area that we deer hunted a lot. And what happened was after the deer ran off, I heard it coming. I raised my rifle up to my shoulder, and this thing walks out. And I'm looking down the barrel through a set of open sights on a 30-30 rifle at something that's close to 8 foot tall. Never seen it before, didn't know what it was. I didn't care. But the first thing that popped in my head was the legend of Boggy Creek. When it finally, after probably a minute of standing there, breathing heavy, all slunched over, it was chasing and pushing them deer somewhere or to something else. And because that's typically what we did when we was kids. We pushed deer to our parents or grandparents or uncles. And there was a deer drive. And whenever it finally turned and looked at me and just looked at me, it had an expression of surprise on its face. Now, I'm a 16-year-old kid. Played football. I done everything I could do in school. And, you know, I had an older brother that was in the Air Force. He taught me, you know, composure under pressure. And my dad taught me how to hunt. My dad taught me never to be afraid of anything, never show fear to an animal. And that combined, I didn't lose it. Unlike some people that, you know, go out here and walk up on one, or one walks up on them, they lose it. Most people would got up and ran away at that point. But I didn't move. And it looked at me for probably 30, 40 seconds, then it started baring its teeth. It started growling at me. When it started that, my training from my dad and my older brother kicked in. I knew that this thing was angry and upset with me because I was there and was ruining its hunt. So at that point, I pulled the hammer back on that 30-30 rifle. And when I pulled that hammer back, it hurt to click. Even though it was growling at me, it was a low guttural growl. It just went like, uh-oh, there's trouble. Or I'm in trouble. Or I'm, you know, this guy's got a gun. I'm sitting there in a blaze orange vest with a blaze orange cap on, a red flannel shirt, and a pair of blue jeans. It was warm, unseasonably warm for December in the state of West Virginia. It was probably in the low 60s. And if any of y'all are from up north, you know, come December, it's cold. It's not fun. You know, we get snow and cold rains and north winds and everything else in West Virginia that time of the year. But this year it was warm. And when I cocked that hammer back, it had a surprised look on its face, and then it started twisting itself looking for an out. And then finally it decided and went back the way that it came. Now this whole experience lasted probably 3 minutes. Once it reached probably 200 or yards or more from me, it screamed at me. And the howl that I just did was what I heard. the tone and everything as close as I can get it to what I heard. It shook me as a 16-year-old kid after hearing that howl to do the worst thing that you can do as a hunter and climb a hill and run out a number 2 gravel road with a hammer full of cotton. It's the worst thing. I was taught to never do that. I've never done it since. But at 16 years old, I was scared. It scared me. And why I sat there and faced this thing, I do not know. I guess because of, by the sheer grace of God and training that I learned from my uncles, from my dad, and from my older brother, I sat there through it. And from that point on, I didn't want to hunt no more. I didn't want to go out in the woods. I didn't even want to go trout fishing. And I didn't go night fishing for the longest time after that. But finally, my dad and them drugged me back out in the woods. And I do mean drugged me. My dad was never a big man, but I was always a big kid. But if my dad grabbed you by the ear, you went where you were supposed to go. And he told you to go do it. And it was out of sheer respect for my father I started hunting again. And I've hunted since then. And I've bear hunted. I've been up in between a pile of dogs and a bear in a bear fight and grabbing dogs, and I've gotten clawed by a bear, ripped the brand new Carhartt coat to shreds when it clawed me. But it only cut one part of my arm. Just one claw went into my arm. We sutured that up and I went on. But enough about me. When it comes to these creatures, I want to caution all of you. I know some of you are investigators that are here and you go out looking for Bigfoot and you go out to research these creatures. Always be aware. Don't ever run from them. If you walk up on one, don't run. They have a predatory instinct, just like anything else out in the wild does, that can be triggered. When you trigger that, and you got a world of hurt coming, you might be dinner. Don't do it. And that's the only thing I can tell you to caution you against running from them. Stand your ground. Stand tall and don't show fear. So if you're, I know some of you guys have seen them and some of you haven't, but when you see one, just take in what you see and don't give them a reason. They can be aggressive. Even the docile ones can be aggressive. But after 30 years, I know a little bit. I'm not no expert. I get people calling me all the time, well, you're the expert. No, I'm not. I don't know everything about these creatures. And I'll be the first one to tell you, there is not an expert out there in the world. They might know the biology of these creatures. They may not. They may know every call that a Bigfoot makes. Doesn't make them an expert. They may know what every type of footprint. They can pick up footprints from a Bigfoot from 100 yards away. They're still not an expert because they don't know everything. The only way to know everything is to be a Bigfoot. Bigfoot can be dangerous or they can be nice to you. And after 30 years of getting accounts from people, I've had accounts from both types. And I've dealt with both types.
3 times.
But the best thing to do when it comes to a Bigfoot is keep your research going. Don't stop. Never stop. I don't care if you've seen 50 of them. Never stop. I've contemplated quitting, and here recently, I've thought very seriously about it. I've got grandchildren, and I want to see them grow up. There are things I want to do in my life with my wife, and I've thought about quitting because of that. And I like to have fun. Me and her go camping like we are today. We like to go do that. But I'm always cautious when we go anywhere. We're in national forest. This place is heavily forested. A lot of mountain ranges, a lot of hollows, a lot of creeks running through it. There's a major river right here beside us. Everything a Bigfoot needs to hide from us. They could be sitting up on the bank right now watching us from a cave over there. Or listening to us. It's a possibility. Always be aware of what is going on around you when you're out there. Because if they can get past your senses, your 5 senses, they've won. It's a game, and the young ones like to play that game. But there's always a chance there might be one of them that are of the type that hunts humans, that eats meat all the time. And those are the worst ones on this earth. I classify them in 5 different types. Type 1 is an ape-like creature. Looks like a gorilla, or a chimpanzee, or a orang. Type 2 is the one that looks like what the scientists call Cro-Magnon man. Very big, heavy brow line, slanted forehead, hair hangs down across most of their forehead, maybe in their eyes. And they may have a beard. They might even have a goatee. I've actually seen one that has a goatee. Type 3 is the ones that looks like us. They're the humans. They're the ones that come to your house most of the time and walk up and go, TV's on. I'll just stand here and watch. And they'll stand there and stare in your window for hours on end. As long as you're up and the lights are on in that room, they'll watch you. They have no problem standing there and watching you from a distance. And we were in Indiana 2 years ago. 2 years? Mrs. Bear?
Yeah.
They had a camp going on of 2 huge Boy Scout troops. These kids are doing the normal things that kids do. Running around screaming, running between the tents, and running down the road and running over in the woods. And it's dark. Pitch black. Prime time for Bigfoot to be out. We go out the road another 2 miles, pull down this road that goes to nowhere, and we do Bigfoot house. And they did tree knocks. We got an answer. Guess from where? The ridge right across from those Boy Scout troops. They were there watching the kids run around, hooping and hollering. Would not come to us. They were watching their TV. They were eating their popcorn, which could be acorns, whatever they want to eat. And they were sitting back watching the kids, having fun watching kids, watching us be stupid, not knowing they're there. We went back to through that camp later on, and all the kids are gone, but the troop masters are there. We told them that there's Bigfoot watching those kids, and they just, whatever, and went on about their business. So did we. You can only tell them. But there's so much that I've seen with these creatures. They eat anything that's in the woods. They can digest anything that we eat. I've gotten reports of Bigfoot coming to the backside of a truck stop, pulling the dumpster open and taking out bags of hamburgers from the Wendy's that's in the truck stop. It's quick and easy food for them. They can eat what we eat. I've got reports of Bigfoot coming into suburbs, getting into people's trash cans at night. I've got Bigfoot reports that are saying they eat dogs, have eaten their cats, eaten their chickens, killed a cow. And I've dealt with the ones that are bad, that hunt us. There's not many of them, but why take that chance? See what I'm saying? You walk up on one, you don't know what it's going to be like. You don't know what type you're dealing with until you get a good look at it. And if it's at night, you're not going to get a good look at it. And people have asked me this for over 2 years now of having this channel. I thought this channel in 2 years' time may have had 1,000 subscribers. There's 10,000 people plus on my channel now. And it's because I put the truth out there about them. They can be nice when they want to be. But there's always something we do to tick them off. Because we don't know their society. I don't know what they do in their society. I can only tell you what I've observed. I can tell you this much for certain. The alpha male, he's the boss. Everybody answers to him. Other than that, I can't tell you when they have their young. I can't tell you which one in that clan is going to be the hunters. He designates that every day. That's his responsibility and protection of the clan. That's all I can tell you for certain. A lot of other people can tell you the same thing, but they can't tell you anything else. I can only tell you what I've seen. So, if you want an expert, there isn't any. You want to know how to find them all the time? Nobody can tell you how to find them all the time. I can't do it. There's places I go back home that I know they stay there year round. They don't move. And it's the same place that I saw my first one at 16. Because the population of deer in there, wild game, is enormous. It's right near a river. They fish, they don't fish like we do. They don't got a rod and reel. But they got them huge hands they have, and they'll sit there and they have the patience of Job. They'll wait until a catfish or a bass or whatever one they can get will come by, and they'll grab it and snatch it out of the river. I do know they do that much. So, I know it's supposed to be a presentation about what I've done. There's a lot of things that I've done in the Bigfoot world. Every one of y'all have made that same mistake. And when I'm talking about mistakes, it's stomping through the woods, making all kinds of noise, and we think we're quiet. We're not. Never can be quiet. I can walk through the woods and be as quiet as I possibly can. And to them, I sound like a Mack truck driving down the interstate, hitting the rumble strips. So I make mistakes every time I go out. Don't worry about it. You'll get your chance to see one. But you got to be out there to do it. But then you also got to watch your own back. And then there's some ladies here that I've spoken to about the color of their hair. And I can tell you this, blondes, They like you a lot better than they do any other female. Redheads are second. I was a redhead when I was a kid. I don't know if it was my hair color that got some of them to come near me, but it's a possibility. And there's too many reports of Bigfoot fixating on women that have blonde hair. There's a bunch of reports of Bigfoot fixating on women with red hair. But it seems to be that if you have a blonde natural hair color, or you got your hair dyed blonde, they fixate upon you a lot more than they do anything else. So just be careful. And if you're ever put in a situation where one charges you, I've been charged by a female in North Carolina. I've been charged by a 9-foot male from West Virginia, coal black and collar, in the daylight. I've been charged by a chestnut red Bigfoot, over 10 foot tall, male. I could clearly see these Bigfoot and know they were male or female. Don't back down. Stand tall and talk to them. People say talking to them don't work. It works. You talk to them in an authoritative manner. Let them know that, yeah, you might get me, but I'm going to get you too. And whenever you are out investigating, do your best. You don't have to make calls. You don't have to tree knock. They know you're there already when you get out of your car. You don't always have to make the calls to get them to come to you. Because they can tell our calls from theirs. We're on a different wavelength than they are. So, if anybody has a question, feel free to ask. You got a question about any kind of
Type
Bigfoot?
4 and 5?
Type 4 is what I call the Gugway. They're the ones that are opportunistic hunters of humans. If they got an opportunity to kill you without getting shot or getting harmed in any way, they'll kill you. They're primarily a meat eater, but they do eat stuff from the woods, like acorns, mushrooms, herbs, whatever they can find.
What do they look like? Human age.
Gugway has somewhat of a poofy mouth, like a gorilla, but they have human features. They might have a human nose that's pushed down, but it's still a human nose. They have high cheekbones. They don't have a brow ridge. They look like type 3s, except they have fangs that protrude from their mouth. And they eat a lot of meat. And you hear people say, well, did you smell it? Did it have any scent? These constantly have a scent because of the meat content that they have in their diet. Smell like death. And they are death to us. Type 5s, what I call the Janoskwa. A type 5 looks like a demon in a Bigfoot body. Their faces are always contorted. They always have scars on their face. I've never seen one, male or female, that didn't have scars on it. And they're supersized. 9, 10, 11, 12 feet. That's what I've seen down here. I've seen them in West Virginia. I've seen them in Virginia. I've seen them in Ohio. They're not nice. And they don't care if you got a firearm. Do not care. Because they've known for over a long period of time that mankind, when you can scare him, he's not a very good shot. He might shoot 6 foot over top of their head, or 12 feet to the right or the left, or right in the ground in front of them. They know all this. They can think on the same level. Every Bigfoot can think on the same level we can. That's why we can't find them every time.
Are they the face eaters? What they call the face eaters?
Yes. Anything that's meat, they eat their own kind. They're cannibalistic. They will kill an alpha male of any type, first 3 types. And they're big enough to do it. And they're super strong because they're eating nothing but protein. So, question.
I've read somewhere online that each of these different types of talking about their footprints will seem to be different. Do you know if they should have?
Some of them have a lot of deformities in their feet. Some of them may have a hooked toe. Some of them may have only 3 toes. Everybody says, well, 3 toes is skunk ape. No, not necessarily. Because if there's a skunk ape in the state of West Virginia, it's way off of where it should be.
Oh yeah.
I know some of you are from down further south, Louisiana area, Florida. Watch out for them skunk apes. I don't even play with them. I've been to Florida. I've been down as far in Florida as Arcadia. Actually, a little further than Arcadia. I've been in the swamps in Louisiana.
Which type of a skunk ape? Which category would they fall in? Probably.
When it comes to a skunk ape, I would say they would probably fit in the Gugway type.
Like the Mayaka skunk ape. She has the fangs. I'd
Yeah.
say. That's what cut.
They fit out to be a
Oh,
Gugway.
okay.
You know, the 2 words that I use, guys, they're not English. These are American Indian terms for these creatures. And both of them mean the same thing, face eaters, because they eat our faces. Huh?
Can you pronounce those 2 words again, please?
Pronounce them?
Yeah.
It's called Gugway,
Gugway.
which is Gugwe. And then Genosqua.
Genos.
It's Genoskwae.
Have you seen one of every type?
Yes.
How many sightings have you had?
Last time I sat down and counted, about 35.
Wow.
West Virginia. And we got the ones that stand up there and say Yahoo.
It's a very big
Wait.
You said, but you watched that. Where did you grow up?
West Virginia,
But it's a big state. We're in West Virginia.
What about?
near Charleston, is where I grew up.
That's still a northeast, community.
It's central. Charleston is the capital city of West Virginia.
Within 50 miles, the nearest town is
Charleston.
okay.
So Yahoo, they actually make that noise?
Yes.
I thought it was something they just did on that Goofy Mountain Monster show.
No. I'm telling you the truth. Some of them shows that we call goofy are telling you bits of truth, man. When it comes to somebody saying that a Yahoo makes a different call, they do. I can't even do their call. And it sounds exactly like Yahoo.
If you care to elaborate on Janice's premonition about you, just any kind of details.
Well, she's right. I have had to shoot 3 Bigfoot in my life. One was to save, and I'm going to use you for instance. Young lady, her size, her hair color was 10 feet in front of me, and her boyfriend was 20 feet in front of her. And it was right at dark. a Bigfoot reached out to grab her by the hair of the head, or grab her by her head actually. And when it reached out to grab her and almost touched her, I had to shoot it. Because first off, the area that we was in was known to have aggressive Bigfoot. Not the Janoska or Gugway, not the ones that hunt you, but the ones that will harm you in some way. In order to protect her life, I had to shoot this
Were you
Bigfoot.
out researching or just walking?
We were out being Bigfooters.
Okay.
Did you see any blood splatter? Do you know you hit it? That one specifically?
Yeah, I know I hit it.
Okay.
What'd you shoot it with?
300 Win Mag.
Good enough?
What'd you do with the body?
Nothing. Whenever I let that round off, my buddy turned around and came running back to her, grabbed her because she was screaming and frozen in place at the same time. Grabbed her, took her to the truck, and I followed, walking backwards to the truck. We left. When something like that happens, you don't want to be in the area
Because there's more rounds coming.
because there's not just one.
Right.
So out of the five you described, what would you consider like a skunk?
Type 4. Gugway.
What about Yahoo?
Yahoo, well, they're type 2s. Because most of them have a pronounced brow ridge. And, you know, they're just a bunch of good old hillbilly boys that don't want to be bothered.
You had some in common with him. You're hillbilly back, like Bigfoot.
Yahoo Greg.
So of the three that
Yahoo.
you Western Lane,
Everyone.
that was
Come back and they were gone.
When we came, I went back 2 days later. And there was nothing of that Bigfoot laying there. All I found was a little bit of brain tissue.
You know,
I never forget the story about you telling about your mentor, you being taken.
Mm-hmm.
Your first really negative, I guess, thing that happened. That story.
right. That story's
yeah, I never. I read about that story.
it's
That-
intense.
That happened to me when I was still, I was in my early 30s.
That was part of your series of things.
Yeah, 30 years of Bigfoot.
Bear, I don't verify your story on your phone. My mom's hair, she dyed her hair just like this bud right here. Started off, these Bigfoot, come banging on the trail.
I'm Mr.
That's how it started. They bang on the trail. Next thing you know, a few weeks later, she calls me up, says, Kenny, something tapping on my window.
The harder it gets, the
Constant.
more trouble you have.
Tapping, it tapped for an hour. Just tap, tap, tap. It scared her so bad. She got her dogs up and run to that car. She was scared to go outside for a while. Run to her car and left in the state of Alabama. That happened.
It wouldn't be nothing new.
That happened. That's crazy.
I don't know how many of you have heard the one that I did early on about the truck driver and his wife, and they had a son and a daughter. Daughter was the oldest, about 16 years old. Mom's in her early 40s. Dad's in his early 40s. The youngest one was the boy. He's 8, 9 years old. Two Bigfoot, the male Bigfoot, the alpha, was outside of their bedroom, the master bedroom, pleasuring itself because it was watching her when she would get out of the shower and go in and change into her night clothes. Well, they had a huge bay window. They don't make blinds that big unless you special order. They just had the house built. This started almost instantly after they moved in. And then the other male, the oldest son in that little family unit, was watching the daughter, doing the same thing that its father was doing. That didn't end well for those Bigfoot because they charged him while he was sitting on the deck one night. So they can turn on a dime. And that's the best story that I can tell you that illustrates. They were doing something that they wanted to do, but the moment that the alpha of this family was there, it changed. They wanted to attack him. It didn't end well. Not for the Bigfoot. Yeah, they're smart, but they also have primal instincts. We've lost ours because of the society we live in today. They haven't lost theirs. And that's why I caution you two ladies, change your hair color if you can. Keep it covered.
Keeping it covered for sure.
Ralph, how do you, Gary's got one problem I'm having thinking about how I would react or how to react or what to do is bluff charge issue. I kind of look at bluff charges like, you know, when I was out on the streets, everyone's got a gun because there's a gun involved in every situation we're involved in because you've got a gun because you're an officer. At what point do you say this is not a bluff charge? I'm going to take this thing down because
When
I'm
they
not
get
going to stand
within
there
50 yards of you.
50 yards, okay. Because as fast as they can move, which is lightning fast,
You
got
don't have a
reaction time
snowball's
involved
chance
and
in you
stuff.
know where.
Huh?
You don't have a snowball's chance in hell.
Yeah.
I'll put it
So
to
you're
you.
kind of, if
That's the
one
simplest
charges
I can
you,
put it.
you're kind of at the mercy of whether it is a bluff charge or not.
If you see this, I'll give you for instance that happened to me. I was in North Carolina. This female, I went behind this lady's house to do an investigation because she called us and begged me to come down. She was having a big, huge alpha male blonde Bigfoot standing outside her window watching her at night. It had actually got to the point where it was testing the doors on the house. She's blonde and she's built like a Barbie doll. It's the simplest, easiest way I can put it, nicest way. This male Bigfoot, although it's not tried to harm her, is very protective over her. The night we showed up, it walked within 15 feet of me to try to intimidate me. Intimidation doesn't work. It makes me mad.
How big is this one?
Close to 12 feet.
How tall is that trailer?
13.2. Right now, the closest it is in the front, about 12 and a half.
So pretty close to the
Yeah.
to that trailer.
And these creatures, they can protect you. They can watch over you. They can keep mountain lions from eating you if you live in California or anywhere in the West where there's mountain lions. They can do all that. But you make one affront to those creatures and you're done for. And I can't tell you what you did because I don't have their brain. I don't think like they do. I think like we do. Something will just go, oh, whatever, and walk away from it. They don't do that. I do know that much. They look at everything that we do as a threat because we are a threat to them. And if you go out at night and you carry a gun, you're a little bit better off. Most people don't carry the ones that I do. When you carry a gun, most of the time all you're ever going to have to do is flip that holster open and pull it out and point it in their direction. Heck, a cell phone can work and look like a gun's on. So if you're out there and you get bluff charged or you get charged and that Bigfoot's coming at you and he started 75 yards away and you see him, pull that cell phone out or that handgun out and point in their direction. That charge, full on charge will change to a blood charge. He'll stop at 50 yards. He don't want to die. And you don't want to have to kill him.
They do.
Yes. They know what a gun looks like.
Have you ever been harassed by like the Men in Black or the government?
I'm a truck driver. There's been times that I've been pulled in to a weigh station. No other trucks are there. Weigh station shows up as closed. But we have a little computer monitor that's tracked by our company. It's also attached to the U.S. Department of Transportation. And when it comes across there that you have to pull in, you have to pull in. I've been pulled in and said, yeah, caught your last video. You just shut up.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I've been stopped on the interstate by a state trooper in my own personal vehicle. Not that one, but the ones that I owned before. And they told me, you shut up. Can't shut up. I was given this by the same person that called me to preach, to tell the truth that I know, and to help others learn. So I can't give up. I want to quit. It ain't gonna happen.
What's your personal opinion on the government stuff?
I couldn't hear you.
What would be the reason the government won't tell us the truth that these things are real? Your personal opinion.
You make that dollar.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew that part, but I'll see if there's anything.
My personal opinion is it's all about the power the government has and the money that it will cost them. Tell me one politician that you know of, from the lowest form of government to the highest form, and I don't care if they're a governor or a judge, Supreme Court judge, whatever. Why are they that high up in the government? It's all about money. When you can vote your own raises, and we don't get raises, it's about money.
Well, when I first got in contact with you, I was trying to get help. State trooper, game warden, forestry, no help whatsoever. The forestry guy, not the forestry guy, but the game warden, I brought him to the spot, showed him that nest, that blind, where these things were at. That's where I got him filmed. He told me, when I told him, can I shoot him? Get him out of here. Well, I don't know nothing about it. He says, you can't shoot them because they're federally protected. I said, if they're federally protected, how do they exist if they don't exist?
Yeah.
You can't quote me on that. That's exact words, too. Exact words.
I've heard that before.
Find somebody's card from the government. It might hit.
The only way you're going to get the federal government or state government or your county or your city, local city government to admit that they're real is that a body's brought out and they're forced to. Yeah, they brought out everything about UFOs, what they had. Quote, everything they had.
Right.
It ain't even a quarter of what they had.
What is a UFO mean? Unidentified
Flying objects.
That could be a Chi-Chi bird.
If you don't know what it is, yeah.
That's why they changed the name.
Which we've seen the naval fighter or the naval out of the plane. Everybody has probably by now.
Well, even the one with the Navy that chased them.
Yeah.
So I know everybody wants to know what my personal opinion is. Why would the government want me to tell me to shut up?
That's another good reason.
Yeah.
Why would they tell me to shut up? It's because I ain't afraid of it. You can take this body and take this life away, but you can't take my soul. There's only one that'll take my soul. Go right ahead.
How many numbers that you know of around United? You got guesstimation,
There's a lot of
I would
creatures.
estimate about 1 million Bigfoot in 48 states of America. If you add in Alaska, you probably add another 5 to 10,000, 20,000 more or something.
That's a lot.
I heard somebody estimate there's 9,000.
If there's 9,000, how in the world do you
Would
think
that be
of creatures that's super able to use everything in the woods to defeat our eyes and our ears and our noses can be seen that many times?
Yeah. Yeah. To me, that seemed grossly underestimated.
That means all the clans that I've seen and all the family units that I know about, they were only in West Virginia for a short period of time, and I happened to see all of them at once.
Yeah, exactly.
Personally, I think the numbers are way higher because there's tons of caverns. You know, human beings, we take up skyscrapers and maybe some deep basements. They have caverns for miles, and then they live on the surface too.
We also abandoned mines, railroad tunnel.
100%, man.
They do everything they can to defeat our senses. And they're real good at it
Are they more likely to bluff charge you during the day than at night?
during the day. At night, they know they're superior because they
Yeah.
know we
So they're
can't
going to
see.
lurk around and watch you and
Yeah.
stalk you. And, okay.
They'll make all kinds of noise at night, and it scares most people. Earlier, they were talking about stomps,
Right.
breaking tree limbs. Wayne and them had a tree limb fall here, tree across the road fell. It's meant to scare them. They succeeded in scaring 5 people out of here.
I have a question for you. Kenny and Joe were talking about the footfalls they heard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were, you know, that Kenny said he's hunted elk. I have too. I've had elk around me. You know, where I hunt, there's cows. You know, I mean, there's 1,200-pound bulls, which is not a big bull, but I mean, it's big as far, you know, if you're sitting on the ground, he walks by, pretty daggone big. But, and they make a lot of noise going through the brush, but you don't hear the thump thump. And this is a 1,200-pound animal. These Bigfoot, you know, they could be that big, they're
Well-
15-footers, but at an average, they're probably an 8-footer, probably what, 600-800 pounds. You know, how
Somewhere in
come-
that
how come
range.
the ground vibrates? Is it because their feet are bigger and they're bipedal? That's the sound they're going to make.
They can, because of the way their foot is structured, they have that metatarsal break in their foot. When they go to set their foot down, they can slap the front part of their foot, therefore make a bigger sound.
So when you hear that, you know it's probably bipedal before you identify it's on 2 legs, just because of the sound of it. Right.
Yeah, we hit heel first. They
Yeah,
hit front of the
like
foot
they're
and then the
walking
heel.
like duck or something like
Yeah.
that. You flop around. Okay.
I have a question about the eyes. Do each of the 5 types have different types of eyes? Because now we're hearing
No,
stories
not
of
all of them have different eyes. Yeah,
Okay.
there's stories about
different colors and different things that they're capable of. and-
Bigfoot in Kentucky have green eyes. Not all Bigfoot in Kentucky have green eyes.
Okay,
Only certain ones that are living in cave systems,
have the green
like
eyes
the
because they
Mammoth
can
Caves, the Carter
They can
Caves,
see.
so on and
Okay.
so forth in Kentucky.
see. All right.
Because they're more in the dark at night.
Okay, so the green eyes are the dark. Okay.
They don't come outside of that cave system until it's dark. It's the same thing as when you guys
It's
use
almost like
FLIR.
a headlamp.
When you use FLIR, if somebody turns around and shines a real bright light into the new style lights that are super bright and super white, shine into a FLIR and see what happens to it. It shuts down. Their eyes do the same thing. But
Okay.
that's only one clan, huge clan actually, that does that. They have yellow eyes. They have green eyes. They might have an orangish eye.
So they have different eye colors just like humans do. Or is it
The different way they reflect.
okay? Okay.
And if you see one and it's got red eyes and you're not shining light in that direction,
Time to go.
run to the highest hill and dig a very deep hole to the bottom of that hill.
I've heard yellow, red, and orange.
Say that again, man.
Red is
You
bad.
see one that's in the woods and all you see is, and you got your light pointed down and you're watching where you're walking and you see red eyes and there's no light reflecting in that direction, find the tallest hill you can find, dig a hole to the bottom of that hill and cover yourself over.
Well, you figured that.
They're pure evil.
Do their eyes have like paper compared to bioluminescence? But I mean, they can glow
Yes.
if you're not shining any kind. I mean, deer.
Yeah.
You know, we all shine.
The only
in
ones
different-
I've ever seen that's had what we would call bioluminescence is the ones that have red eyes. And
So
most
the
of them
rest
are
of
the
them would be a
Gugway and
reflection of
Janoskwa
sunlight.
type that have the red eyes.
And you should have been talking about green eye ones.
Well, I heard a story about the green ones
Why
having
I bring
that.
that up is because back where I'm from in Chickamauga, Georgia, we have the Chickamauga Chattanooga battlefield, and there's a story of a creature there called Old Green Eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Wayne, where are you? He's not here.
He's not here right now.
Yeah, he read the story that it's that night we all was out there, and Daryl Owen got attacked. That there's a theory that this type of Sasquatch creature that had been spotted during the Civil War, spotted back by the Cherokee in the area, and it had the protruding teeth. Fine.
Which is 4.
Gugway. Gugway.
Yes, that one. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. Yeah, I'm going to practice at home first.
I've heard all the stories about that one that's down there around that battlefield.
Yeah.
And if you look back into the times of the Civil War, there were people's bodies that disappeared on battlefields.
That's what I think it's one of the Gugway.
Easy picking.
It can be a Gugway or a Janoskwa that may have grabbed that fallen soldier. So, guys, they'll grab a dead body just the same as they will alive.
And all these types all make tree structures.
Yeah, they'll make tree structures. But if you find a Janoskwa's tree structures, they're supersized. They're not.
Like the one I.
They're not this tree right here. They're not the little trees around here. They're the ones you can barely get your arms around.
The one tree structure I found in the park was actually right near the cemetery called Hunt Cemetery. It's been there forever. Trees about that big around, all forming a teepee shape.
It's type 1, 2s, or 3s.
Do they use those kind of like hunting blinds or something? They get in
No,
there?
it has a meaning to it.
Communication.
Yes.
Communication.
This is our ground.
So that's like a, hey, this is my area, stay out.
Yeah. They're telling other Bigfoot to stay out. Not us.
Nobody's here.
Yeah. We occupy this ground. Stay on. Go ahead.
Is there any good advice for women, Bigfooters, when go out on their, just the women go out on the street, or
Never, ever, any woman that goes out, never go out when you're at that time of the month.
Yeah, they can smell that.
It's common sense.
Bears.
You never want to go out where there's bears because they can smell the blood.
Right.
You never want to go out when there's Bigfoot around because they can smell the blood.
That makes sense.
And I'm looking at all three of you. All three of you have
Hey, I've been
blondish hair.
fixed.
So,
I've been fixed.
and you know, I understand you may be past that age, but don't take your 15, 16-year-old daughter with you. And she's got blonde hair. And she's on that time. Because moms know. Moms always know. I don't care if you're 2,000 miles away like I was from my mother. She knew when I was in trouble. But that's the best thing I can tell you. Never go out when you're in your time of month. Or when you're super grouchy.
I know we have quite a few women picking up photos of the human lives, doing their thing in the woods. I come up on them, turkey hunting and all that. And they're some of the most bravest people you want to look at. I mean, they put out reflectors and lights and whatever curtain they got. They want to come praying in the woods. I'm not saying they all pack a heat. That's a good idea. That's another thing. They all pack a heat. They don't move around. Might be for me and you, because they're scared of what might come up. Stupid people. But they all back in heat, and they have results. I think women have results.
And most of their results come from young juvenile males. The ones that don't know their own strength. That don't know they can take a bullet from a 357.
Are they
You can
more
take a bullet
dangerous
from a
than
44 Magnum.
juveniles?
Huh?
Are they more or less dangerous?
They're more dangerous. They don't
Yeah,
know. They don't know
know
anything.
anything.
The alphas are the ones that know.
What was it you said about 357?
Huh?
You said 357 won't do no good at all.
357 is your last ditch effort. That means it's already got a hold of you. It's either got its arms around you, breaking your back, and you put that barrel right in its mouth and pull the trigger 6 times.
Ralph, your first encounter, did your brother and father believe you about your...
My dad was the only one with me. And when I got back to the truck, my dad looked at me and went, "What's wrong with you?" Because according to my dad, I was white as his shirt.
I don't blame you.
I was that scared. I don't scare that easy anymore. Because I've seen it.
Did he believe that you saw something?
My dad ordered me probably 30 times before we got to the interstate to tell him what was wrong. Ordered. I listened to my dad.
I swear he probably
I
knew.
couldn't tell him because I was sitting there in the passenger seat crying like a little baby
Yeah.
that you had walked up and smacked their rear end because he done something wrong. That's over an hour. I cried. I was that scared. But it took for the scare to set in when I got back in the presence of my dad, someone I looked up to,
Dad,
someone I know that would protect me.
possibility.
And when I finally broke down and said, "Dad," and I looked at him and I had tears coming down my face, my eyes were all swollen, and my dad was telling me this at a later date. I brought the subject up to my dad again. Many years after this, he said, "Your face was swollen from crying so much." He said, "Your eyes were almost completely shut." He said, "I've never, ever seen you that upset." He said, "Even when you broke your fingers," I broke 4 fingers in a football game, and they were all contorted in different ways. You know how I got my 4 fingers put back in place? No.
He said
The coach walked over and went
he did.
Yep.
and popped them right back in place and said, "Get back out there and kick their butt." And I went and done it. Never taped it.
By that time, the thing you're ready to kick something.
Yeah. Well, we were winning, so it really didn't make a whole lot. I could have stayed out. But he said, "Get your butt back out there and kick that guy and get me 3 more sides."
So, the types you mentioned, you said there's 4, 5?
There's 5.
Yeah. Which ones do you think we mostly have, like in Tennessee and Georgia?
Type 2s and Type 3s.
So the one I saw was probably a type down in Helen, Georgia.
Type 1s have been pretty hit hard by Type 2s and Type 3s and Type 4s and 5s.
I couldn't really make out much detail from the distance from the one I saw down in Helen, Georgia, but all I did was stand and watch it. So was that probably a type 2 then?
More than likely, it was probably a Type 2. And if you could have seen its face, we'd know more.
Do they interbreed? And like you have a type 1 and 2 mixture?
No, if a Type 3
I mean, they
clan
could
comes
probably
upon a Type 1,
Physiologically, couldn't they? I mean, if they wanted to.
well, here's the thing, guys. Humans, no matter the color of our skin, we're all the same inside. Bigfoot, no matter the color of his hair or his skin color, they're all the same. The thing is, they have prejudice against the other types. And the one that every Bigfoot is scared of is your Type 5, which is your gymnosper.
The ones that eat each other.
They'll eat the other Bigfoot. Type 3 doesn't like Type 1s. They don't like Type 2s. They don't like Type 4s. So they don't mix together. They go out, and when they get together in the spring or the fall, depending on whenever, the clan has
That would be good.
raised, females and young males, and they can swap family members for new blood, they do it. And then they do it every year. It's not every 2 years, it's every year. Because the Yahoo in Nicholas County, West Virginia, disappears in March and April. But then you can go to, what county was that? Knox County, Ohio?
Yes.
Knox County, Ohio, and here are Yahoo. They don't live there. So why were they there?
Are they like us? Do they, not always, do they mate for life?
An alpha male and alpha female stay together for life.
What about youngers?
Any beta male that goes with a beta female, that's a lifetime together.
Barry,
No matter
you
your
said,
ranking in the clan.
Barry, you said when we went up around Walton, West Virginia, they was known to be more aggressive.
Yeah.
What type
Throwing
would you
rocks.
say?
Type 3s.
Threes?
Yeah.
The Gugway?
No. It's the human type.
Oh,
And the reason they're aggressive is because people up there shoot at them a lot.
that makes sense.
I don't understand that because the ones you're talking about are like they're benign. They're not a threat. They don't go.
1, 2s, and 3s.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand it's unknown. Most are afraid, but if they're not being aggressive, why attack?
Because this guy's in West Virginia.
Might have scared them.
Because they've learned
Let me
that
put it to you
humans are
this way.
aggressive.
Go to a gun range. Walk out there to a 100-yard target. See how many times you get shot at. Tell them they can shoot whenever they want. Find a place to hide. How many times you gonna get shot at, bud?
A lot.
Wouldn't you be shot, gunshot at that point?
No, I'm saying why do you think it's people are being like that? That's what I mean.
Because they don't understand what they
They're
are.
scared. They don't understand what they're seeing.
It's fear.
They've been lied to all their life.
Have you heard the reports about the military raises them? You know, of course they have children ones, breed them.
They've tried to genetically alter Bigfoot, from what I understand. But every time they capture a Bigfoot and take it into captivity, it dies shortly thereafter, 2 to 3 months at a time.
I heard the reports how they like literally use the ones they breed to find the free ones. You know, use their skills. To
Well, no, they quit them. They quit it for the reason of is because those creatures died. You know, 2 to 3 months after being in captivity, it's just like anything else.
We gave them the COVID, basically. No, I mean,
just like
they,
the
they probably
OTC.
can't.
Well, yeah,
they
they
can't
get
live
our
in our
diseases.
atmosphere. Yeah.
Do they know exactly what they are? The government, I mean,
Yes.
genome study and all.
They've done every possible scientific study on these creatures.
Talking about the body they found that do like the
Yeah, that's the Oldbear wild man. They found him when he was alive and he died 3 years later. So same thing. You know, once he's out of his element. Plus they were doing like electroshock therapy there. There's a whole movie about it. Yeah, the Oldbear wild man died 3 years after captivity. The Kandahar giant though is a very interesting story.
The Kandahar giant is an actual giant.
Yeah, from the
Supposed to be 2 of them, too.
yeah, kind of like Goliath.
Yeah.
Is there anybody who's collected enough information about a specific Bigfoot to, and decided the age range of these things is this many years, or?
Well, the Bigfoot, I'll give you my estimation of how long they can live.
Okay.
The Bigfoot that I saw when I first saw it, had to be in its late 20s to early 30s.
Okay.
That is 37 years ago.
Okay.
So that Bigfoot in our age would have to be somewhere in its 60s
Right.
or 70 years old. It still looks the same as it did the day I saw it, because I've seen it again.
So in your experience
In my
with this,
experience.
it seems like these things have a wider,
Longer
age-
lifespan.
longer
Like reverse
lifespan than
dog
us.
years.
No.
I hate to say that. Reverse.
Now, the one show I watched with Janice Carter, she said that one of them told her they lived 120 to 150 years.
That would probably be pretty good.
That
I don't-
sounds
I don't
about
know,
right
that's just
then.
what she said, I don't know.
That sounds about right then, you know, with what he said.
Yeah, because this Bigfoot that I saw,
Still looks middle aged.
this and here's the thing, it recognizes me,
Yeah.
and I've changed quite a bit. I don't have hair now. I didn't have this goatee.
So the one that saw you back then recognized you today?
Yes. The last time we went out and did a video out there, it smelled me.
It knows.
And my wife can tell you, we heard a strange noise. And I never said a word to her about what it was. She said, well, what's that? And I shut up. My buddy that was with us, and he's got Bigfoot on his property. He's dealt with him since he was 5 years old. And he's only 3 years younger than me. Longer than I have. Those Bigfoot recognize him every time he's anywhere where they go. And he's dealt with 3 different clans in 45 years.
So going back to where I had my encounter, it recognized me and killed me.
Yeah. If it got your scent, it'll recognize you. It'll know you.
Fox lived what? Probably 60 years, 70 years maybe? I know it's 50 years with Bigfoot.
Well, the thing is though, when they told Janice's account of that long of living with those creatures, we don't know how old he was when he started in it.
Yeah.
When the grandfather actually started messing, letting him come around.
Yeah, I always picture him as like really young, but he could have been.
He could have been 30s or 40-year-old creature.
Right.
And then another 50 years, so he's 90 years old. And by the time that he passed, when Blackie took over, he could have been 110, 120 years old.
Yeah, I think they lived way past the 100 as well. That's why I thought like 50 was weird, you know. But
I
you're
mean,
right.
you look at it this way. There's been mountain men that have told us when they went west into the Rockies and everything else, they've seen these creatures. They drew a picture of this creature. Very great detail. The American Indian has drawn great pictures of it from what they've seen.
They're on our totem.
And you can pick up somebody that's in the late 1800s, 1850 when they started in the West, and go to 1950 and two different people see the same thing. So that's a 100-year span.
It didn't change much in appearance in that.
Bear, the type 5 you speak about, the Genasqua, you said they're the biggest, baddest on the block. Are they like rogue? They just meander everywhere, or
They're nomadic. They
That's what I
never
was
stay in a place more than what I've seen or what I've heard, more than a 2-week period.
Okay.
Because they decimate the population of game.
That's what I
They
think.
constantly eat, in other words.
Yeah. When they go out to hunt, they might kill 10 deer. For a clan that's 6 of them.
So they travel together? Is that
Yeah, they still
nomadic,
clan out.
anywhere?
Every one of them, they either get into a family unit or a clan.
Okay, they don't decimate the local clan and then move on, or they just join that clan and...
No, you have to be related to be in a clan that stays in an area. You have to be some type of relation.
So what would happen to the local clan? One of these things come in their area, they hide until he moves on, or what?
The big male will challenge it, and when it kills the big male, then the rest of the clan will hide, run from it. They may leave the area for a month and come back, but they'll come back. But then when they come back, they have another outfit in place because they've battled between themselves while they were gone to see who the biggest and baddest of them is now. And it's not always the alpha male's child. It could be a cousin. It could be a brother.
All the jungle, biggest, strongest battle.
Yeah. If you can't protect the clan,
We don't need it.
they don't keep you. They get rid of you. And it's sad to say, but if you are kicked out of a clan, you're pretty well banished from all other clans. So what happens is if a young male gets banished, they go find and steal a female from another clan. And they run. They won't fight. They won't stand and fight. They'll run because they know the big males will kill them. you by yourself?
Yes, say in that instant.
You're by yourself?
Yeah.
No.
Be more
Don't stand your
passive.
ground.
Stand up ground. No, don't.
Don't stand your ground.
Back away.
Start backing away.
Back
Going,
away.
hey,
Do what a lion
I don't
or a
want no
bear.
trouble. Just leave me alone.
And start
Don't
praying.
turn your back.
Yeah.
Talk to them in your mother voice when you talk to your children.
Okay, that's what I did before. Do you make eye
Going to kid, I told you.
No, don't look them straight in the face.
That goes through.
That's a.
Dominance.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with dominance.
Okay.
Females in a clan, the alpha female
Yeah.
never looks into the alpha male's face.
Right. What if an alpha female has, have you ever heard of an alpha female approaching another female almost like, you're on my territory, bitch, get going. Right.
Yeah,
So to
at that
speak,
instance,
know?
you don't look them in the
It's like-
face and you back away.
Okay, so we would do the same
Yeah.
regardless.
Because in the Bigfoot world, it's like it used to be in man's world.
Right.
Men are the boss, women are subjected to the
Yes,
female.
submissive. Okay. Right. We were just wondering, like, would it be the same as if a woman was approached by a big
No, it's always different.
It's
Do the
different
opposite.
with the juvenile.
Back away, but never turn your back.
The juveniles, we could be more aggressive. No, you know.
No. Never be, any woman that goes out bigfooting, never be aggressive to a man. I don't care if it's the alpha, I don't care if it's the beta. If you're aggressive, if you speak to them aggressively, it ain't pretty.
Tell them not to look them in the eyes. While you're trying, like if us guys are out there by ourselves, do we look in the eyes then when we're trying to stand the ground?
Male or female, you better look it straight in the face. Because how I'm looking at you, better be the look you have on your face. And if your girlfriend's with you, or your wife is with you, you get her by the arm and put her behind you. It shows that you're her protector. You got to go through me. And if you don't back down, they have respect for someone that'll stand up to them. Unless it's a genocidal or a drug lady that wants to eat you, and you really
Then it
ain't
doesn't
gotta
matter
stand.
what you do.
Then we're pretty much done.
You're done. You better kill it before it kills you.
Then you need the grace of God.
And I'll tell you all this: every one that I've ever had to shoot, out of the three that I've had to shoot and kill, they've been genocidal. Every one of them.
That's when we said don't care. Right?
They're the ones that do not care.
You shot one with 300. What about the other? What did you have to? What did you use? Same gun.
On the other two, were they about like the same situation?
No.
Right.
The other two were at a farmer's place there in Ohio. They had decimated his cattle. He was a cattle farmer. And his nephew, which was a very good friend of mine, he's a state police, DOT state police. He pulled me over, that's how we met. We started talking about deer hunting. I got out the ticket. It'd have been a $300-some ticket. I was happy. But because I was overweight, because I didn't know any better. That's when I first got to Ohio. And after a couple of years, I brought the subject of Bigfoot up and said, who knew Bigfoot? And then when this happened at his uncle's place, he called me. He said, hey, my uncle's got trouble. He's down there.
This generation of people,
Can
you
you
know what
help?
I'm saying? They can pass it on to the next,
We went
you
and
know,
looked.
and more people
I
can learn to
found
be safe. Let me get a
collarbones,
picture
cow
of that.
bones, hips, skulls,
What?
yay tall.
Trail. Oh, okay.
And the thing was, I put out my traditional flashbangs. A double row of them. I backed every one up with another. I put out 120 of them. They walked like this. Never run. They came out into the field behind the barn, and when they saw 3 of us, they kept coming. not walking slow, not kind of hesitant, ready for fight. And when they come down there within 100 yards of us, they started growling and screaming. It's a sign of aggression. We're warning you.
Coming for you right now.
We're going to kill you. Now the 5, 2 died. One of them got away because when the guns went off, from the 3 of us, 2 dropped. The third one, they shot twice, and I shot it 1 time. And then I had to deal with that situation again in production.
Yeah, obviously. After that, he's gonna try to get snagged.
No, they didn't put nothing out on him, but they took it out on his nephew. They killed his nephew and his girlfriend. And she was a blonde, by the way.
Not the nephew who is your friend, all other nephew or your buddy?
No, he's a state trooper. He lives in Columbus. But the other nephew was a lot younger. He was like 16 years old. But evidently they associated him because he was always there helping his uncle.
Did the 16-year-old get killed make the news? Or was it an animal attack or was it never even published?
It's on my channel.
I'll look for it. And that's Marietta. That's
500 Smith, 454 Consul, or 460. All those are revolvers. All them are revolvers.
Is it which Joe? Your Joe? Cowboy Joe?
My dad's service revolver. It's about the, huh? What are they talking about? I don't know.
Oh, well, like I said, because out there where I'm at in Mark County, I'm the only guy walking into it. That's why I always wanted Jasper, because until then I didn't know
It's a.
I was going to go to Jasper.
I'm getting hungry, girl.
Now I got another person to find something.
So who's cooking tonight?
Great presentation. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Yes, and